However, you're going from one extreme to another. So in other words, in Chinese medicine, we say drink what's called room temperature water. However, you add ingredients that cool down the body or cleanse the body.
Right.
Things like cucumber, celery, watermelon. So you eat fruits that cool down the body on a much more gentler level, as opposed to drinking a glass of water with ice, which cools down the body too rapidly.
Right.
Therefore, what you've just done
Make
is
the body have to heat itself back up.
yeah,
again.
you made the body not only heat itself back up, but you've caused a very extreme disruption in the
Right.
immune system, and that allows an opening for certain sicknesses to come in. Right?
Is that like the old wives' tale too? That starve a
Right,
cough, feed a cold. That old saying is that
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
You're
Right.
describing pretty much what the hygienists were talking about. There is
Right.
what they call stasis. A stasis, an ideal condition. So
Right.
you have an ideal temperature, ideal acid alkaline balance in the blood, etc. And if the body goes astray, and if in many cases, let's say if your liver becomes congested because you're under stress or bad food or it's overburdened, the toxins are going to spill off into the blood, and it's going to be then your skin will be substituting for the liver in that case, and you'll see it'll depend if it's I mentioned chickenpox, for example, before. If it seeps out through the mucous membranes inside the skin, you'll see the chickenpox lesions. If it comes out, if the bile poisons come out through, let's say, the outer skin, it'll be you'll see rashes and boils, acne. It'll be diagnosed as something else.
Right.
If you abuse your body, if you abuse your, let's say if you have a lot of sex, for example, or you're not, if you have too much sex, let's say, and you'll see a venereal disease because the trauma, the skin trauma, will be at that location. So they'll call it a venereal disease, and they'll treat it with a different kind of chemical, but it's the same thing. It's a vicarious elimination through the skin, and I guarantee you, whatever you see that, if you just let it run its course, try not to eat. I'm not so. Well, you have to know how to properly conduct a fast.
Yeah. Like
if you refrain from feeding that fever by feeding that, by burning the body, by torturing the body with more food, it's doing as much work as it can, just getting that stuff out of your body.
Right. And we're talking about incorrect food, and that's where the Chinese medicine paradigm comes in, and that's where you need to know what are cooling foods, what are heating foods. Like, for example, if you've got a heat disposition or you've got a fever, you don't go eating chili or garlic in that situation. In that situation, you would probably drink peppermint tea, which actually helps to open up the pores to let the heat out, for example, just as a basic example.
I will say this, though. I take an eclectic approach. I give this information to parents, but I also tell parents in my literature they should be very eclectic and get a consensus of opinions. Go to more than one doctor for a diagnosis. Get the diagnosis. Look, doctors do certain things right. They're very good diagnosticians. They do some other things right. If you want to get into it now, I don't want you to think you do, but there are certain things that they do right. But what they don't do right is they don't interpret what they see in the form of infectious disease correctly. Their theory is wrong. And if the theory is wrong, then the therapeutic has to be wrong. So when you see these manifestations in a child, it's very scary to a parent. They see the child is sick, uncomfortable, and they don't know what to do. Well, there's a website we give parents where it provides a tutorial on how to treat a child that's sick, and it's confirmed that it's an inflammatory type disease, what we were just describing, measles, mumps, rubella, the chickenpox, whooping cough. These are the catarrhal diseases, the zymotic diseases, the diseases that we're talking about, in which doctors say is caused by a germ, and we say we're seeing a crisis of elimination, they call it. It's the body purging of waste through abnormal channels, the lungs and the skin.
But why does the body start to purge that? And why does it come up with a specific symptom like, say, chickenpox? That's where I'm confused. Like, you're saying it's not the germ. Why does their body start
I'll give you an
purging?
example. I'll give you my example. Sometimes parents can overfeed their child. Sometimes a child can have allergies to certain dairy products, like even formula, like at an 8-month age or a 6-month age or a 1-year age or a 2-year age. Sometimes the kid's eating too much candy. You know, like it's not.
But they're going to get chicken pox.
Well, yeah, because what happens is your body, if it's having an allergic reaction to that food or the food's heavily processed. For example, if who ever thought of having an allergic reaction to peanuts? Okay, but it exists.
Oh no, I know there's a huge
but what's not said a lot, it's not found in and it's not common, is having allergies to certain food groups. Now, as a child's growing up, if they're eating a lot of a certain food group, they can develop an allergy towards it. Or if the food is too processed, it can actually be allergenic. So what happens is when it goes through the digestive system, the liver does not process it very well, or neither does the kidney, and neither does the digestive system. And therefore what happens is an inflammatory process. Now, if the person keeps consuming that the same kind of food, this inflammatory process erupts. It kind of gets out of control. It's no different if you're drinking a lot of alcohol. For example, if you drink 1 glass, 2 glass, 3 glass, 4 glass, 5 glass, 10 glasses, after a while, your body has to deal with all that alcohol and all that sugar. And what happens is an inflammatory process. So the next day, the hangover is you get a headache, your muscles feel tired, you can't crap properly, you can't go, your urination, there's something wrong with your urination, you feel pain, you can't see properly, because your body, instead from an intoxication of overdose of that alcohol, it has led to an overreaction from the body. Right, so it's the inflammation. Now some foods are expressed through the skin, and I know from the clinic for sure. And in Chinese medicine, we talk about this all the time. Too much fried food, for example, heavily fried food, can actually cause a lot of skin diseases. Many.
That all makes a lot of sense what you're saying, but where I get lost
Mike,
is okay.
Yeah,
Mike, let me take a shot at it. Because I hear this a lot. I have parents, for example, who call me up and they don't know what I'm about to tell them. They say, I took my child to a chickenpox party and we tried like hell. He couldn't catch it. I don't know why.
That's what I was just going to say. How did if it's a just to quickly, so I don't forget, I'll let you go back. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt. If it's not a germ thing and it's an inflammation, how can it be so specific to chickenpox? How can it be diagnosed as chickenpox? And how can it be contagious then? If it's a food for one child.
First of all, you can pretty much culture blood and get whatever you want if you're looking for it. Sometimes you get a high correlation of one germ over another, but they don't go through that. They diagnose through what they call the clinical eye. They see the rash. They say that you didn't get your chickenpox vaccine. It has to be chickenpox. They just go through a flow chart without even going into a virus analysis of
what it actually is.
They don't like rub a pox and send it away somewhere? No, I didn't know that.
It's diagnosed clinically, but let's just continue what I'm saying. Why didn't that child get the chickenpox? Well, that child, whereas the two siblings in the other household where the chickenpox began, why did they get it? Well, those two kids got it because you have to understand that germs and viruses are the result of the environment. They are the expression of what you do in the outer environment. And as a result, they have the same genetics, the same eating the same food, breathing the same air, or the same toxins. You never know. And as a result, they get the same type of eliminative reaction. What do you do though if you're at I'll give you another example where environment plays a role. You remember Legionnaire's disease when it was first found in the 1970s,